The body is humankind. I am a single cell in the body of 4 billion cells. The body is humankind. I am a single cell. My needs are individual, but they are not unique. I am interlocked with other human beings in the consequences of our actions, thoughts, and feelings. I will work for human unity and human peace, for a moral order in harmony with the order of the universe. Together we share the quest for a society of the whole, equal to our needs. A society in which we need not live beneath our moral capacity, and in which justice has a life of its own. We are single cells in a body of 4 billion cells. The body is humankind. And that was written in 1981. So if you're doing the math, yes, it's changed a bit since then. But the sentiment is the same. Our second reading is from the poet Emily Dickinson. If I can stop one heart from breaking, I shall not live in vain. If I can ease one life, the aching, or cool one in pain, or help one fainting robin unto his nest again, I shall not live in vain. Here end the readings. Ubi caritas et amor Deus ibi est, where there is charity and love, there God is. Thank you, choir. You are not the only one. You're not the only one. You're not the only one who finds it upsetting and demoralizing to try to deal with the healthcare system, or to track benefits to which you are entitled. You are not the only one who doesn't understand how it got so complicated to get the car fixed, or navigate the controls on your phone, or try to find parking in Boston, or to get an appointment with a therapist. You're not the only one who feels defeated and deflated when your date, your spouse, or your kids scroll their phones during dinner instead of engaging in conversation with you. You're not the only one who doesn't understand why people throw garbage on the street or don't pick up after their dogs. It's not just you. Some of these disappointments and frustrations are minor enough that some small pleasure, beauty, or consolation can put your heart right back in you after suffering them. You go, okay, the pharmacy kept me on hold for 16 minutes and they're still not going to refill my prescription, but the sun is shining and it will shine again, I promise. It's supposed to on Tuesday, I think. A friend just left me a really sweet voicemail. And I'm going to make a cup of tea when I get home. I'm grateful that there is sun and that I have friends and that I have a home where there is tea, and I'm going to be okay. We work this kind of equation all the time, try to balance out frustration and gratitude, standing on that wobble board, trying to get our equilibrium back. Have you ever stood on a wobble board? Do you know what I mean? Yeah, it strengthens your core. Much of what we do for each other as a congregation is exactly that. Heartening each other, trying to help us maintain our perspective with each other, commiserating, reminding each other, this too shall pass. But if you feel that there is more grind to existence than you had previously felt, I agree with you. I'm there with you. And I don't think it's just the aging process or the way that technology and institutions are constantly evolving and requiring more mental gymnastics, time, and resources to navigate. I think systems are intentionally getting more complicated, and the reason for that is multitudinous, but it has to do with money and power and the maintaining of resources for fewer and fewer people. We are strained human beings on a warming planet. In the emotional sense, despite the fact that the planet is warming, I feel a kind of chilly impersonality in more of our everyday lives and interactions that requires more attention and effort to counteract than I have previously felt. A sense, again, that many systems are becoming ridiculously complicated and outright user-unfriendly intentionally. So, what is required of us, strained humans on a warming planet, as we cope with this or adjust to this? These trends could tempt us to turn inward in self-protection and turn our backs to the rest of the world. And you will see that that is a very popular response. But we, of course, are called and covenanted to do otherwise, to resist that temptation for the good of our souls and our mutual survival, not just in body, but in spirit. A few weeks ago, we had a snowstorm, and a friend texted me. He lives probably a quarter of a mile away, so very close. He texted me in a panic. He'd gotten caught in the intricacies of a street parking ban that was in effect throughout the entire city of Lynn, every single street. And he didn't understand the details, so he made a mistake and left his car out. And to make a long story short, he got hit with a $200 ticket. And he needed somewhere to put his car fast so that he didn't get another one. And I said, sure, come park in my driveway. I'll move my car. We'll work it out. So the next day when he came to pick up his car, he tried to slip me some money, which I refused. And he said, well, let me shovel your snow then. And I said, that you can do. Now that's great. I'll take you up on that. This is not an unusual kind of neighborly interaction. I hope your lives are full of them. But what I want to highlight in this particular case is the $200 ticket, which is a major financial sucker punch to come out of nowhere for most people. $200 can be the difference between putting groceries in the fridge and no groceries. It can create a very precarious financial situation for a lot of people. And there's a term that I think some of you might know called the poor tax. How many of you, have you heard that term? Yeah, okay, if you haven't heard of that, that term expresses the way a lot of lower income folks get piled on by tickets, late fees, debt that they accrue because they are underpaid, they are overemployed, and they are unsupported more and more as time goes by social systems and nets that used to exist to support them. And they are, of course, subject to inflation, rising housing costs that they can't plan for. It seems to me that more and more of us are getting hit with such quote-unquote taxes. Shocking expenses that come like rogue waves hitting a small vessel. There is simply less security and stability in life everywhere now, at all levels. And the younger kids are yelling about it in a way that I'm very glad to hear. They will not tolerate it and absorb it with a kind of shameful sense of, well, gee, I should be able to handle this. They know what's happening, that society is not structured in such a way as to be supportive enough, and they are saying this is wrong and it needs to change. We in community commiserate and offer consolation, but what can we do aside from supporting more social structures that help people? How can we bolster spirits and a sense of inner security? The term mutual aid was a very important concept for universalists historically. It's a term that came back into prominence in 2020, I noticed, during the pandemic shutdown, when mutual aid groups suddenly proliferated again, very much in awareness that no one was coming to save us. And to paraphrase the community organizing slogan, we had to be the ones we were waiting for. The basic premise of mutual aid is to intentionally create communities that are aware of each other, where the members are aware of each other and paying attention and committed to helping and supporting one another, not just during serious global crises, but on an ongoing practice and as an ongoing way of life. It might sound simple. You go, oh, well, of course. But this mutual aid mentality requires a mindset that runs very contrary to the rugged individualism model that most of us have internalized, where we're expected to be responsible not for ourselves. This mindset of mutual aid runs contrary to the rugged individualism that most of us have internalized, where we're expected to be responsible for ourselves and our kids, our kinfolk, our blood family, and to ask for or to expect help and support from others, well, that's outside the norm, and it could be even potentially embarrassing. That shame has to be addressed and eradicated. The waves are coming too fast and hard these days. None of us are getting out alive. We never were. But the stresses and the strains are mounting. Mutual aid also challenges our notions of charity, such as we have often learned through traditional religious communities and from our schools and organizations that encourage us to give to the less fortunate. Right? Give to the needy, those less fortunate. And I want to tell you a quick story that helped me begin to question that phrase and to reject it, actually. When I was teaching high school in Maywood, Illinois in the late 80s, it was a school that was majority lower-income African-American students. I taught Judith Guest's novel, Ordinary People, which is about a very affluent family struggling through the aftermath of the death of one of their teenage sons in a boating accident and the subsequent suicide attempt of their surviving son, Conrad. You might recall that movie, directed by Robert Redford, starring Mary Tyler Moore, as the ice-cold, competitive, unempathetic mother, Beth. Now, my students, who were those less fortunate by every standard that I had learned to define such social divisions, were filled with nothing but pity and sorrow for the family in Ordinary People. And what they said as we worked through that book during that semester has stayed with me, which was basically this: man, Miss Weinstein, you couldn't pay me to live with people like that. It's not worth it. And they didn't just mean the parents. They meant the entire upper middle class, almost entirely white community of Lake Forest, Illinois, which was located not at all that far from them geographically. They had pity. They saw the Jarretts in that community as definitely not as fortunate as they were. When we adopt an ethic of mutual aid, we become oriented away from charity toward solidarity. In charity, someone's a have and someone's a have not. But in solidarity models, we all have. We all have, and we are all in need and have not some things. Someone may have more money or a bigger house for the time being, but someone else has skills or a heart of compassion or a sense of wonderful humor or knowledge or maybe a generator. Maybe they've just prepped better, you know? Everyone is needy, but the need is going to hit us all at different times and in different ways. I asked a group of people the other day, what was the most encouraging thing someone ever did for you? You know, a re-moralizing thing when you were demoralized, and how much did it cost them? And the responses yielded wonderful stories, heartwarming, kindness they spoke about, rescues that brought them to safety in a time of peril. People, this was one of my favorite stories, two people who appeared in the night on an off-ramp of a very deserted stretch of highway when this woman's brakes got jammed in her car. And so she got stranded on the off-ramp in this very dangerous position because, you know, it's dark, and if another car had been coming off, it just would have broadsided her. So these two people appeared and literally pushed her car to a gas station, a filling station, like a long way, okay? And then when she turned around to thank them, nobody's there. And when she said to the guy at the filling station, the people, and he was like, what are you talking about, lady? There are angels hovering round. There are angels hovering round. And many more stories of people going the extra proverbial mile to accompany someone on the verge of homelessness or a panicked situation with a child in the middle of a meltdown. All kinds of beautiful interventions committed with grace. In almost all of these stories, the cost to the person returning hope and heart to the one in need was not monetary. The generosity was expressed through time and presence, the quality of presence, meaning these were people who appeared who were paying attention. They were awake and attentive to their surroundings enough to notice that someone really needed them. They were ready. And you know that saying? If you stay ready, you don't have to get ready. If you stay ready, you don't have to get ready. And that's what it means to embrace an ethic of mutual aid. In one of his most famous teachings, Jesus told his followers not to brag about giving, not to be up in public and to talk about it. And this is in Matthew 6, where he basically says, don't make a big production out of helping. Do it in secret. And I've been thinking about that teaching a lot lately. And he's right. And it's not just about the bragging and about needing the attention, centering the self. Look what I did. To me, it's about breaking down that illusion that there are some who have, and some who don't. That illusion requires way too much dishonesty, denial, and energy to maintain. Do you see what I'm saying? If we walk around going like, I'm giving, I am the beneficent one, then that's an illusion because my turn will come. And that, I don't mean that to be frightening. just mean that to be real. We're just trying to be grounded in reality with big open hearts. We all have something of value to share, to give, and at any given time, our presence, our paying attention, and our time are almost always going to be the most valuable asset. And we all have the capacity, no matter what our condition in life, to embrace an ethic of mutual aid, which creates equality and equity and solidarity. The squeeze is real. The waves will roll in. Do you know the other day I got a tsunami warning on my phone? I got a tsunami warning on my phone, and it wasn't a technical error. It was for Massachusetts. And I looked at my phone and I went, oh, that's fine. That's fine, great. And my first immediate thought, because I was like, if a tsunami hits, it's not about grabbing my go bag. It's like just cold water in the face and bye-bye. But my first sort of practical thought was, well, the church is on a pretty good elevation. It's not just you. It's not just you. And isn't that good news?
Somebody's hurting my brother, and it's gone on. Hey, it's gone on. I tell you, it's gone on. Oh, somebody's hurting my brother, and it's gone on. And we won't stay silent anymore.
If here you have found wisdom, take it with you into the world. If you have found comfort, go and share it with others. If you have known love, give some back. Hold yourself and others in compassion. Stay ready and go in peace. Let the people say, Amen and Amen.